Welcome to the System Simplified podcast, where we feature top leaders who share stories on how to successfully systemize a business. Now, let's get started with the show.
Hello, Adi Kalvit here, the host of the System Simplified podcast, where I feature top founders, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders about systematizing a business. And today's episode is being brought to you by Business Success Consulting Group, where we create, document, implement, and optimize processes and procedures so businesses can grow and thrive. And today's guest is Sneer Rozenfeld. Hi, Sneer.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing well, thank you. It's great to have you on this podcast. So, Sneer, you are the CEO of a company by the name of Cyber 2.0, and your specialty is cybersecurity.
Yes, it is.
And we're going to talk about that. You're going to give us great tips and advice for business owners that are listening to us. But your gift is storytelling and simplifying things.
Yes,
When we
it is.
spoke, yes, right? You are all into the KISS. Keep it simple. Stupid.
Keep it simple and stupid, yes.
So that is your motto, and you simplify everything. So you're going to simplify for us right now, today, cybersecurity, but we're also going to talk about your journey because you have a very interesting journey as well and an interesting philosophy about life. So this is going to be a fun podcast. But before we start, I want to give a big shout out to Natalie Nathanson, who introduced us. And she had me on her podcast. She was a guest on my podcast. And I'm going to include that episode in the show notes so people can refer to it. So thank you so much, Natalie, for the great introduction.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Natalie.
Yeah, and you were on her podcast as well. So we're going to include that show as well, because if people want to hear more about you and the topic of conversation between you and Natalie, which was a lot to do with change management and changes in the business and growing. That's a very interesting episode as well. So I'm going to include that.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Sneer, let's talk about cybersecurity. That's definitely a word that is out there. People are concerned with it. How do we simplify? How do we explain it in simple terms?
Wow. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for having me. I'm very, very excited about having the podcast with you, and it's going to be a fun podcast, and I look forward to having it. So thank you for having me. I'm very humbled by you. The cyber world, everybody speaks about cyber and everybody's nervous about cyber. You know, there are too many terms we don't understand: USB, EDR, XDR, MDR, so many three-letter words that nobody understands, and everybody's getting panicked about it. Now, when I joined Cyber 2.0 about 8 years ago, I saw a cyber defense system that is based on chaos algorithm. Now think about it. You go into a presentation, you tell them, we're going to show you a cyber defense system that is based on chaos mathematics. Now at that moment, you lost everyone. Everybody's so afraid. Mathematics, chaos, and algorithm. You put all those dirty words in one sentence? Oh, it's too much for us. I'm not a professor. And then I realized we need to simplify it. We need to give it very, very simple so people will be able to understand what you are saying. Because when you always address the cyber, and everybody's speaking about cyber recent areas, you know, it's growing up. And you need to simplify it. You need to bring it to the people. You need to give it in a language they can understand. Now, when I started exploring that, I saw that I had to find something that people can relate to. So, for example, when we started examining the cyber world, I saw that the cyber world, by definition, well, it's built on known rules and known methodology. And the methodology in the cyber world is built on biological models. All the terms in the cyber world are borrowed from biology. So we have virus, and we have antivirus, and we have mutation, injection, and so on. Now, it's easier to speak with people about biology. You know, after COVID-19, everybody's a doctor. Everybody understands about biology. So it's easier to give them the analogy to something that they can relate to and understand. Now let's explore that. What happened during COVID-19? Well, the main damage of COVID-19 was not a single person from China or whatever getting the disease. The main damage of the disease of COVID-19 was infecting everyone. So we had to isolate everyone. We had to go with masks. We had to sit at home. We had to get into isolations because the main damage was the spread of the virus. Now, it got me thinking. In every given moment, in every company, a single computer might be penetrated by a malicious software. It happens on a daily basis. People are getting their computers infected by viruses, but the main damage of a cyber attack is not a single computer getting a virus. The main damage of a cyber attack is just like COVID-19, is infecting other computers and other servers. Now, okay, so we understand the problem a bit more so we can relate to it. Now, what did we do in COVID-19? We did a vaccine. Everybody went to Pfizer, do a vaccine. Everybody did that. The same idea, the same notion applies to computer. When you have a new computer virus comes up, what do? You do critical patches and security updates. Basically, this is the vaccine we are doing. You are updating your systems to the latest version so it can be able to identify and work with known viruses. When you give someone a vaccine, you give them a weakened virus in the dose of the vaccine. You give them a very weakened virus so the body can relate to it. The same idea was implemented to cyber defense systems. Now, what happened in COVID-19? In COVID-19, we had mutation. We had the Omicron virus, we had the Delta virus, and then we had to do the booster shot. The same idea applies to computers. If you take a computer virus and change one line in the code of it, well, you get a mutation, you get a new virus, you get the Omicron, and you have to do the booster shot. Now, how do you do the booster shot? Critical patches and security updates all over again. So basically, the notion of once you understand how diseases work, same idea is implemented into cybersecurity. Now, this was basically simplifying it as the best way that I could to let people understand how we can solve it. Now, then I told them we are using chaos algorithm. Now, every time I said chaos algorithm, people went to chaos. What does he want from me? And then I had, again, to simplify chaos algorithm. Now, it's very difficult. You must understand, we have a board member, which is a professor of mathematics, so we can authenticate it. We are using genuine chaos algorithm. Now, how can you simplify chaos algorithm? I mean, Albert Einstein couldn't do it.
What is a chaos algorithm? Let's start with that.
Oh, what is chaos algorithm also? Does it mean? Does it mean a mess? When you say about chaos, everybody thinks about a mess. And no, it's the other way around. Chaos is complete order, way order, meaning if you move this pen from here to here, you have chaos. You cannot change anything. Now, this is the main idea. So I had to search which system do we know that uses chaos algorithm. And then it was very interesting. A system that we know from a daily basis that is based on chaos algorithm, well, it's the weather. The weather is a chaos-based system. What does it mean? It means, for example, the weatherman might be telling us it's going to be raining in Florida tomorrow, right? But eventually, a plane went through the clouds from, I don't know, from Barcelona, went through the cloud, did something, and as a result of a chain reaction, it didn't rain, even though the weatherman told you it's going to rain. The same idea of a system that cannot be 100% predicted as the weather, we implemented it into cyber defense systems. Now, once you find the right story as the weather, as COVID-19, once you find the right stories to tell and to deliver the message, people can relate to, and then they can understand it, relate to it, and say, wow. And this is the most important thing. They understand. You saw those lights coming up, and finally somebody was able to understand what you want from him. You don't use sophisticated words. I'm giving you extended detect and response systems using anomaly detection and behavior analysis. People are going, what do you want from us?
Right. So it's really getting the right terminology, simplifying that terminology and analogy. But there is also the results, explaining results as opposed to the process. What results would people get, business will get by implementing a cybersecurity policy?
Well, this is very interesting because when you look at the cyber world, you see that there are many similar things between various companies. I mean, We spoke about the method. It is based on biology. Everyone is doing biology. Everyone is doing biology, from the biggest one to the smallest one. They're all based on biology. So basically, they're doing the same things. And more than that, the system, we started investigating the system. Now, the system is very interesting. The system is called detection prevention. First, you have to detect and recognize every malicious software, and then you're trying to prevent it. By the way, Iron Dome works in the same way. The Israeli Iron Dome works in the same way. Detection, prevention. First, you identify there's a missile launch. Then you counter a missile back to it. The same idea works in computers, detection, prevention. First, you are trying to detect malicious software, and then you're trying to prevent them. Now, it doesn't matter who you're going to implement, because there are various companies who does that. Each one of them has their own unique solutions. And I once told the story about how a physical exam a doctor gives you is exactly the same way a cyber defense systems is working. And let's explore that. I mean, let's go over it. You got up in the morning and you're not feeling well, right? So you go to the doctor. The first thing the doctor will do is take your temperature, check your blood pressure, and take your temperature. Basic physical exam, right? The same idea was implemented into cyber defense systems. What does it mean? It means the first thing we do, we call it behavior. We started analyzing the network. We started analyzing, is the computer warming up? Is it working faster? If the computer, what happens? The same idea as a blood pressure or taking the temperature. And the word will come back to me in a second. So the blood is clean, right?
It's diagnosis, basically.
Yeah, it's diagnosis. Now let's move forward. I have no fever and the blood pressure is okay. So the next exam a doctor does is he takes a blood pressure. Or in COVID-19, they stick it up your nose and they try to check within the cells of your nose if you have already known viruses within your system. In cyber world, it is called deep pocket inspection. The defense systems are scanning all your folders to see if there are any remnants of known viruses. So the blood is clean and I have no COVID-19. The last exam the doctor will give me will start asking me, have you stopped eating meat? Have you started jogging? Have you did anything? This is called behavior analysis. The same thing applies to computers. If John is sending 200 emails a day and suddenly is sending 400 emails a day, you have a new behavior analysis. It's not legit and you have to check it. So basically, you can do deep pocket inspection, behavior analysis, and other exams to see if the anomaly detection. You can check anomalies in the computer to see if it's warming up. The same thing we do in the blood pressure and the temperature. So the same three principles that defense systems are using as anomaly detection, behavior analysis, and deep pocket inspection, they're basically a physical doctor exam. Now that's amazing. Now you have to implement now hackers know that. So it's very easy to penetrate, and we've seen everyone's getting attacked. You know, we've seen Disney, we've seen Marvel, we've seen the US Post Office. Everyone is getting attacked. Now, those companies have billions of dollars budget for security measures, and still they're getting attacked. And this is what was driving us when we started the company, how we can give a new policy, a new set of defense in an old world, which is based on already known rules, which are biological rules. And the method is detection prevention. Now, once you realize the problem, you already solved 50% of it. Now let's move it over.
But Sneer, can we do prevention ahead of it, if ahead of detection, like preventative medicine, if we are getting the analogy of biology and medicine? You know, sometimes before you have, yes, like detection, prevention, oh, you have a heart attack. Okay, now let's get you to ICU and handle the heart attack. But before that, there were indicators, or there were things, if you actually live a certain lifestyle, you probably have less of a probability to get that heart attack.
Yes, but you're speaking biology, and I'm trying to secure computers, and computers are not biological beings. A computer cannot get a heart attack.
But you can have behavioral of the user in terms of just reducing the risk, right? I mean, if you don't open suspicious emails, if you don't, like, how do the viruses get into the computers?
It doesn't matter in every given way. He can go to a website he's not supposed to. He can open an email he's not supposed to. He can
Exactly. So
buy.
that could be measures that you can actually educate and teach
Yeah,
the,
but people will make mistakes. You cannot control the human factor.
you can't, that's true. Can you
You
reduce
know,
probability though?
everybody's used to get, now it's something new. Back like 4 years ago, everybody used to get an SMS telling them they want a free iPhone. Did you get one?
No.
No, right here in Israel, everybody got an SMS, you want a free iPhone. Or you had a pop-up in Google telling you, click here and get your own free Galaxy. And eventually,
Well, I do get, I'm telling you, I get SMS every day, like text messages. I don't open it, I delete it because I know I can see that it is not legit. I don't open SMS with attachments of people I don't know. I don't respond. Oh, your bank account was hacked. Okay, boom, delete. I mean, we have those all the time, like in terms of hackers.
someone will open it. Eventually, someone will open it. 1 in a million will open it.
I know, but then you have to, but you reduce the risk by educating, don't you
Yes,
think?
but you have to, education is great. I mean, I'm all for it, but eventually somebody will make a mistakes, and hackers are getting more smarter by the moment. Let me tell you about a recent cyber attack we've seen, and it's amazing. And I got it. I got it, and it was amazing. You know, I had an email coming to my email from Sean from Singapore. Singapore is directing the cyber hub in Singapore, and Sean wants to interview me to a podcast. And that's amazing, right? I mean, that's amazing. I love him getting on podcasts. It sounds amazing. Wow, Singapore wants to hear the world. Wow. But from where did Sean from CyberHub in Singapore heard about me? And then I started exploring that. I started going over, and then I saw something very interesting. There's a new form of attack. Now, it's amazing because they're going to the human factor. Now, think about it. You have an employee, you have a salesperson, and suddenly he gets an email telling him, hello, sir. We've watched your profile on LinkedIn and we found you amazing. We want to give you a business offer offering you the dream job of your life. We think you can be a VP sales in our company on a global scale, and we'll be happy to give you a job interview so we can do it. Now, the employee suddenly gets, he gets, wow, finally, somebody recognizes me as great. Somebody sees my greatness, and now finally it arrived. I'm going to be the VP sales. I'm going to the dream job of my life. And then what happens? Well, he goes to a job interview over the web. And on the other side, there's a hacker. But the hacker is there in front of him on the screen, and he's giving him a job interview, a 40-minute job interview. And he's telling him he's amazing, and he's speaking about the cars and the shares and the salary and all the bonuses he's gonna get. And he's giving him a great job interview. During the job interview, since we are connected through the web, he is infiltrating a virus to him. Now, the employee doesn't know. You cannot educate him because employees want to work better, and he's getting a job offer from someone who's telling him he's great. Through that time, he's getting infiltrated by a hacker. He putting a known malicious known as beaver tail. It puts a backdoor in the organization. Now, after 40 minutes of interview, they're telling him, all right, thank you so much for the interview. We had a great time together. Thank you so much. We'll get in touch with you. We have to interview a couple of more guys, but we'll get in touch with you. After 2 weeks, the employee is getting a message telling him, we're sorry. We had to move on with somebody else, but thank you for participating. We kept your details in our system. If another job comes up, we'll get in touch with you. The employee is a bit disappointed, but nothing happened. He doesn't tell anyone. He doesn't tell his boss. He doesn't tell his CISO, CTO. He moves on with his life. After 6 months, the company is getting cyber attacked. Now, this is why exactly you cannot educate people. Cyber criminals are getting smarter. Now they're doing it job interviews. Now, when I started checking Cyber Hub in Singapore, when they invited me to a podcast, I saw that they had a website. The hackers even got a website up, and they're inviting people. Come on. And you think it's authenticated because
What did you do? Did you go, what did you, how did you figure out that there are hackers?
Well, since I work in cyber, and I saw that something didn't add up in the mail. It was like it was written by AI, by chat. It was too well too well written, you know. And I never heard about CyberHub in Singapore, and I never targeted Singapore as a market. So the chances that somebody from Singapore will get in touch with me, I mean, they're to nothing. So I said, okay, let's understand who I'm going to meet, what's going to do. I mean, even with you, I saw your podcast before I came up, and I was intrigued by your podcast because I want to understand that who's the guy, what we're gonna do. And then I started realizing that this company does not exist. And that's
How did you
amazing.
realize that?
Well, I started checking, for example, the website. The website was very plain, like a 5-year-old did it. It's not a website with too much. And then I started checking ill content, checking the dark web, checking our various engines, checking various locations to see what is the problem and what can I do for it. The profiles on LinkedIn was less than 1 year. The profiles on Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, it didn't have profiles. People should have today profiles at least on 2 social medias. I mean, everybody got them. You know, the old people use Facebook, the younger people use Instagram, and the youngest people use TikTok or anything like that. We see it coming every time there's a new trend about the social media, but it's going on, and you have the Twitter, which is now X, and so on. But everything is outside today. You know, the area of privacy is no longer. If you want to know something about a guy, you just go to the social media and you find everything about it. There is no privacy anymore. You know everything about everyone through social media. And this was the big no-no when I saw that I didn't find no social media or related things to it. So I deleted the message and that's it. But this is a new form of cyber attack which is coming up now. So you cannot educate people because the hackers are smarter than
Look, you educating. I understand that, and I do understand it comes from different places, so there is no black and white. But what you did is think and analyze and investigate and detect, right? So if something looks suspicious to you, if you have that feeling that it's suspicious, it probably is. So you have to investigate further in order to find out.
Yeah. You know, through the web, well, we think that we are smarter. We got the web, everything, we can see everything, but basically we are 80% blind. When we meet in person, I have all my instincts working on. I can see, I can hear, I can touch, I can feel, I can taste, I can do everything. I have all my instincts. Now, when you go online, you can not, you only rely on your eyesight. Sometimes you can also hear, but that's it. You see what I choose that you will see. Now think about it. It's a brand new world. It's a
It is.
brand new world. And you're blind with most of your senses. You don't use them. And this is amazing because
Right, and also the emotion can be faked by using AI. Absolutely.
oh wow, the AI has just started and it's amazing, amazing, amazing. We've seen so many interesting things going on with the AI. I mean, that's amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, Sneer, what is your advice to business owners that are listening to us right now?
Well,
In
I'll
order
tell you
to
what
how
I
to
always
what
say.
should they do about their cybersecurity? Give it to me in a short par in a short a few sentences. What is your advice to those business owners?
Well, one thing we can do is this. Albert Einstein used to say, if you keep doing the same things, you will always get the same results. So if you're using the same old defense systems and the same old operation systems, you must understand they've been there for a long time. Hackers already know that you're using them. You know, the defense company is putting your logo on the website. We have this guy as a customer, and he's very happy with us. So everybody knows that. So you always have to change. You have to change the way you think. You have to change the way you protect, and you always have to use innovation. We see an increase about chief innovation officer, a new job that recently came in the last few years, and it's going up the job, and it's very interesting because you always have to change. If you use, I don't know, one cloud for 5 years, after 5 years, that's enough. Move it to the other cloud, change it. Always change it. If you're using this firewall, after 6 years, use another firewall, even though it's not always comfortable, but you have to change the way you think, the way you look, the way you protect. And you always have to put a budget on the side for new innovation. A new company will come to you, they say they have the craziest idea to protect you from, I don't know, explore it, try that, do a pilot, do a proof of concept, a POC as we call it. Do a POC, test it, listen, open your heads, open your ears, open your eyes, listen to the new technology. It's going very, very fast. And if you don't start adopting new technologies and you rely on the same old companies, well, we know what happened to Kodak. We know what happened to Blockbuster. We know what happened to all those giants who didn't move, who didn't make the change. If you don't make the change and adapt to the new era, and the new era is, I'll tell you this. A few days ago, my son came to me and he says to me, Dad, do you have ChatGPT? Now he's a 10-year-old. And it sounded something like that. Dad, do you have ChatGPT? And I didn't understand what he wanted. And I said, do you have ChatGPT? And I said, of course. And I was so excited. I'm going to teach my son about AI. I'm going to teach him. And then I was shocked how much he knows. He does his homework using ChatGPT. Think about it. A 10-year-old child uses AI to do homework. Now, this is the generation which is growing and they're 10 years old. What will happen in the next 10 years? So we always have to think forward. We have to take it to the next level. We always have to test, to change, to adopt new technologies because it's constantly changing all the time. If you keep doing it, the same things, you will always get the same results. And it's always changing. You cannot rely on those old stuff. You must move forward.
Great advice. Sneer, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, you can find me on social media. We spoke about it. I got TikTok, I got LinkedIn, I got Twitter, I got Facebook, I got even those Chinese social media. You can find me everywhere. I got the YouTube channel, and you can find me on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on TikTok.
Great. We'll include the links to that. And thank you so much for being a guest on this podcast. That was definitely a very interesting conversation, very lively. And we learned some things here. And thank you for the advice.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great podcast. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening to the System Simplified podcast. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.